Let's imagine if avoidants were completely honest. If they opened up, here's what they'd really say. And since I'm avoidant myself, I know this well. I want you to picture this graphic I built. I call it my nesting thought graphic. It's simple. 5 circles, each one inside the other, like layers. Every circle hides a thought an avoidant usually keeps secret. Think of it like armor. The outside circle is guarded, but if someone spent enough time with you, they might guess it. But the deeper you go, the more hidden and private the thoughts become. The innermost circle holds the one truth avoidants almost never admit, the thing they'd rather bury forever. Each circle's job is to protect the one beneath it. Circle 1. I just value my independence. I need space to be my best self. This is the classic avoidant phrase. It sounds strong, logical, and even admirable. Who doesn't value independence? Who doesn't need space? On the surface, it feels harmless, even respectable. But if you peel back the surface, this thought isn't just a preference, it's a shield. Here's what really happens. When stress hits, whether it's pressure from work, conflict at home, or a wave of anxiety I can't explain, I don't reach out, I don't share. Instead, I retreat. I convince myself, I can handle this on my own. I don't need anyone. It feels like strength, but really, it's avoidance. Independence becomes my camouflage. People hear, I need space, and accept it without question. It sounds mature. It sounds balanced. But what they don't see is that it's cover fire. It keeps them from noticing what's actually happening inside. Fear, confusion, shame, and the simple truth that I don't know how to ask for help without feeling weak. Because here's the terrifying part. Needing help feels unsafe. Depending on someone else means giving up control. And for me, control equals safety. If I let someone close while I'm struggling, they might misunderstand, judge, or worst of all, leave. So I shut down first, before they even get the chance. Circle 1 protects me by offering a socially acceptable excuse. I just need space as a way to bow out without raising alarms, but beneath it, the real story is different. Space isn't about recharging. It's about hiding. It's about making sure no one sees the mess, no one sees the cracks, no one sees the parts of me I don't trust are lovable. The irony is, I often tell myself this independence makes me strong, but really, it makes me lonely. When I wall myself off, no one gets to know the real me. They only see the mask, the composed, self-sufficient version. And while that image might feel safe in the short term, over time it becomes a prison. Because here's the truth I don't say out loud. I don't always want independence. Sometimes I want to collapse into someone's arms and not carry everything alone. Sometimes I want to admit I'm scared, or tired, or lost. But the fear of being judged or abandoned keeps that locked away. So Circle 1 exists to protect me from that vulnerability. It keeps me in control. It gives me an easy out. It whispers, don't show weakness. Don't let anyone too close. Don't risk it. But like all shields, it comes at a cost. And if this is just the outer layer, imagine how much heavier the truths get as you go deeper. Circle 2. People always disappoint you eventually. I'm just being realistic. This is the second layer, and it cuts a little deeper than the independence excuse of Circle 1. Here, the avoidance story shifts from, I just need space, to, I can't really trust people because people let you down. This belief doesn't appear out of nowhere. It usually starts early in life. Maybe a parent promised to show up, but didn't. Maybe comfort was inconsistent, sometimes offered, sometimes withheld. Maybe love felt conditional, available only when you behaved a certain way. Over time, these small, repeated moments plant a message. Don't depend on anyone. They'll fail you when you need them most. So by the time an avoidant grows up, every new person feels like a gamble. Each relationship is like rolling dice. Maybe this person will prove reliable. Maybe they won't. But in the avoidance mind, the outcome is already tilted. The safest bet is to assume disappointment is coming sooner or later. That's where defensive pessimism comes in. Psychologists use this term to describe a strategy where people expect the worst to protect themselves from shock or pain. Avoidants live by this strategy. The logic goes like this. If I expect disappointment and it doesn't happen, great. I'm pleasantly surprised. If I expect disappointment and it does happen, at least I saw it coming. I'm not blindsided. It feels like realism. It feels smart. After all, life has already proven this belief to be true in the past. But in reality, it's not realism. It's armor. A shield that says, if I never fully trust you, you can never fully hurt me. The problem is that this shield doesn't just block out disappointment. It blocks out intimacy too. When you're always waiting for someone to fail you, you hold back pieces of yourself. You never let anyone all the way in. Even when someone shows you care and consistency, you keep them at a distance because you're convinced it's only a matter of time before the mask slips and they hurt you like everyone else has. Here's the painful irony. Avoidants often frame this belief as wisdom. I've learned from experience. I'm just being realistic. But what feels like wisdom is actually fear in disguise. By preparing for failure, they guarantee disconnection. By assuming disappointment, they never risk the joy of genuine trust. Circle 2 isn't just about expecting the worst in others, it's about permission. It gives the avoidant permission to withhold, to detach, to never lean in fully. And while that protects them from the sting of betrayal, it also keeps them from ever feeling the safety of true closeness. And this is only the second layer. The next circle doesn't just expect disappointment. It begins to believe love itself is doomed from the start. Circle 3. Love doesn't last. It's better not to rely on anyone. By the time you reach this circle, the belief isn't just about people letting you down. It's about love itself being doomed. This is where avoidants begin grieving before the relationship has even had a chance to grow. Think of the myth of Sisyphus. His punishment was to roll a massive boulder up a hill, only for it to tumble back down every time he neared the top. No rest, no victory, just endless effort. For avoidants, love feels the same way. Every step forward seems temporary. No matter how much they give, no matter how much they try, they believe the end is always the same. Failure, loss, abandonment. So instead of fighting to keep pushing that boulder uphill, avoidants learn to give up early. Why invest in something that feels destined to collapse? Why rely on someone if the story always ends with disappointment? For them, hope feels foolish, almost dangerous. Better to grieve ahead of time than to be blindsided later. Here's the tragedy, though. Love itself isn't cursed. It's not fated to crumble. But avoidants carry old wounds that convince them it is. They filter every experience through past pain, so what could be real connection feels instead like a ticking clock. They tell themselves it's not worth it, better not to rely on anyone. And in doing so, they create the very distance that keeps love from lasting. This belief drains joy from relationships. Even in moments of closeness, the avoidant feels tension. Instead of relaxing into affection, they're already preparing for the fall. It's like building walls in advance of a storm that might never come. And while those walls offer protection, they also block out the warmth of love in the present. The irony is, this hopelessness is actually a defense. If you convince yourself love won't last, you don't have to risk trusting it. You don't have to face the terror of leaning fully on another person only to watch them leave. By rejecting hope first, you get to feel in control. But the cost is heavy. Love becomes a burden instead of a gift, not because love itself is broken, but because the avoidant has already decided it will be. And so, they never get to feel what it's like to stand at the top of the hill, to let the boulder finally rest, to feel safety and permanence. Circle 3 is a space of quiet despair. It says, I would rather abandon hope than risk pain. But as hopeless as it feels, it's still just another layer of armor. And deeper inside, the wound becomes even more personal. Not just about love failing, but about the avoidant themselves being too unlovable to keep. Circle 4. If you really knew me, you'd leave. By Circle 4, the battle isn't just with others anymore. It's with ourselves. This is where the avoidant turns the spotlight inward. Instead of doubting the reliability of other people, we start doubting our own worth. It feels like living a double life. On the outside, we might look composed, capable, and in control. But underneath that exterior is a version of ourselves we've locked away. A version we fear is too much, too messy, too broken to be loved. It's like the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll was respectable, admired, and seemingly in control. But hidden inside him was Mr. Hyde, a darker, chaotic side that terrified him. Jekyll devoted his life to keeping Hyde suppressed, but in the end, Hyde won. The hidden self couldn't be contained forever. Avoidants feel the same way. We have our own Hyde inside, the parts of us that are insecure, anxious, needy, or overwhelmed. And because we fear those parts will drive people away, we bury them. We push them into what I call internal exile. These pieces of us get banished because we label them unacceptable, unworthy, unlovable. The problem is, the more we suppress these hidden parts, the more powerful they feel. Intimacy threatens to unlock the door we've worked so hard to keep sealed. When someone gets too close, the risk of them seeing our hide feels unbearable. So we put up walls. We wear masks. We carefully control how much people see. The belief here is painfully simple. If you really saw me, the full me, you wouldn't stay. So we protect ourselves by never giving anyone the full picture. We show only the polished parts. We withhold the raw, unfiltered truths. And while this might keep rejection at bay, it also keeps us from experiencing real love, the kind that accepts us fully, light and dark. The irony is that what we fear most, that our hidden side is too much, is often the very thing that could create deeper connection. Vulnerability is what builds trust. But to an avoidant, vulnerability feels like handing someone a loaded weapon and hoping they don't pull the trigger. So Circle 4 is a fortress. It's not about keeping others out because we don't want love. It's about keeping them out because we don't trust that the real us could ever deserve it. And that makes this circle one of the heaviest layers of all, because here, the enemy isn't other people. It's us. Circle 5. When someone loves me, I feel disgusted, because deep down I don't believe I deserve it. This is the core, the deepest wound, what I call the root rot. Unlike the other circles, which can be explained away as preferences or realism, this one isn't so easy to mask. It lives at the center, hidden from everyone, including the avoidant themselves most of the time. And it's this. When someone offers genuine love, the avoidant doesn't feel safe. They don't feel grateful. They often feel a wave of disgust. Not at the other person, but at themselves. Why disgust? Scientists say disgust evolved as a survival tool. It's the feeling that stops us from eating spoiled food or drinking something toxic. It's there to keep us alive. But avoidants twist this instinct inward. When love enters, it threatens the carefully built self-image of being independent, in control, and untouchable. Suddenly, they feel vulnerable, exposed, and that feels like danger, so disgust rises, not to protect them from poison in the outside world, but to protect them from their own deepest fear. I don't deserve this love. This disgust becomes a cycle. It's like the Ouroboros, the ancient symbol of a serpent eating its own tail. The avoidant craves love, just as the serpent craves to complete its circle. But as soon as love arrives, they devour it from within. They pull away. They sabotage. They convince themselves it was never real, or they look for flaws in the other person to justify leaving. And then the cycle begins again. On the surface, this cycle protects them. It prevents the unbearable risk of fully trusting love and then losing it. But beneath the surface, it erodes the very roots of love itself. Over time, it eats away at their ability to trust, to believe, to hope. This is why the avoidance relationships often feel like a wheel spinning in place. One moment they reach for closeness, the next moment they recoil. They long for connection, but the second they feel it, something inside whispers, "This isn't for you. You're not worthy." Push it away before it destroys you. And so, the wheel keeps turning. Deep down, most avoidants know isolation isn't the answer. They know that more distance doesn't heal the wound. It just deepens the loneliness. Somewhere inside, they understand that the only way out is through connection, safe, steady relationships where trust is built slowly and consistently. But facing that disgust, facing the inner voice that says you don't deserve love, feels almost impossible. So they stay caught in the loop. The serpent keeps swallowing its tail. The death wheel keeps spinning. And the avoidant remains trapped between two truths. They desperately long for love, yet at the same time they're terrified of what it might mean to finally receive it. This is the root rot, the final secret, and the hardest one to face.